Hello, Mr. Walken. I've always been a big fan. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and discuss such an important matter with me today.
Thank you as well, Mr. McConaughey. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Let's get right to it then, shall we? As someone who's worked hard to get where I am today, one of the things that's always bothered me is how much money I have to pay Uncle Sam. I'm sure you know the feeling too, right?
We could have made 10 plus movies with the money taxed off of my success. Instead, that money is going towards funding more wars and buying weapons. Why can't we have peace in the world and spend our tax money on helping the poor? How much did the government profit off of your success in Hollywood?
I know, man, it's a damn shame. But it's not just the wars and the weapons, it's the corruption too. The amount of money that just disappears into the pockets of crooked politicians is sickening. Ponders for a moment. As for my success, well, the government has profited far more off me than I care to admit. I've been taxed more than any man should be.
I think the American people are overtaxed. The tax system we have in place currently is like a boa constrictor that's slowly squeezing the life out of the American people, and it's only getting worse. It's not just one type of tax that's the problem. It's all of these different types of taxes piling up on top of each other. Income tax, capital gains tax, sales tax, property tax, and then there's even more like inheritance tax, payroll tax, excise tax, and so on. The American people are being hammered from every direction.
Oh, don't even get me started on capital gains taxes. It's like they want a cut of every profitable decision we make. Then they turn around and tax the hell out of the stuff we buy. On top of that, it's madness.
I agree completely, Matthew. It feels like every time we turn around, the government is finding a new way to dip their hand into our pockets. The way they tax us on our investments is particularly unfair. We take on the risk, we do the research, and when we make a profit, they act like it's all thanks to them. It's just plain greed.
And those taxes on the things we buy? It's double dipping. They're taking our money, and then they're taking a cut when we spend it again. Don't even get me started on inheritance taxes. They're just another way for the government to get their mitts on our hard-earned money. They tax us when we earn it, they tax us when we spend it, and then they come back for more when we want to pass it along to our families.
Not to mention sales tax. They want a cut of every time a good is sold, and buddy, to make a car, materials are exchanged and sold hundreds of times. They're taxing every step of that process as well.
That's right. Every time a good changes hands, Big Brother is there with his hand out asking for his cut. And it's not just one time, it's every single time that product changes hands.
But what the hell can we even do? The system's rigged in their favor. Whenever we try to make it more simple, they cry that we're giving the rich a break, when really we're just trying to lighten the load on the working class.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. We want to fix the system, but every time we suggest reform, they accuse us of aiding the rich. It's like they don't even want to talk about it. But you know what, Christopher? I refuse to just roll over and give up. We've got to keep up the pressure, keep pushing for change. Even if it feels like we're banging our heads against a wall, we can't let them win. We have to keep fighting for what's right.
What do you propose we do to change this?
Well, we've got to start by simplifying the tax code. It's so convoluted and confusing, with all these exemptions, deductions, and loopholes that only the wealthy can take advantage of. We need to cut out all the complexity and have a simpler, flatter tax system. That would make it easier for people to understand and participate in, and it would get rid of all these special breaks for the wealthy. Another good step would be to reduce spending. We can't keep giving out handouts and bailouts to big businesses and special interests. The bloated government budget is out of control. We need to get rid of all the wasteful and unnecessary spending. For a start, we need to stop funding overseas wars and military bases. We need to cut back on corporate welfare, end farm subsidies, and get rid of ineffective and counterproductive social programs. The government needs to shrink and let people keep their hard-earned money.
And let's not forget the sheer complexity of the tax system itself, Matthew. It's like they're intentionally making it confusing to keep us all in the dark about exactly how much we're paying. I mean, come on, the average person can barely decipher their own tax return, let alone figure out how to navigate the thousands of pages of tax codes.
You're absolutely right, Christopher. It's a whole other beast altogether. They create this labyrinth of tax codes and then expect us to just figure it out. Most of us have to hire someone to do our taxes for us, and that adds even more expense. And even then, you're still left scratching your head wondering if you're paying the right amount or not.
You'd think they'd want to make it easy for us to pay the right amount, right? Instead, they make it so convoluted that it's almost impossible to know for sure. And the ones who suffer from this the most aren't the wealthy, like they'd have you believe. It's the middle class. The ultra-wealthy have accountants who can help them navigate the tax laws to minimize their tax bills. The poor often don't pay taxes at all. It's the middle class that bears the brunt of the tax burden, paying for the majority of the country's programs.
We have to expose the facts and make sure people understand the truth. We need to let the public know exactly how they're stacking taxes on taxes on taxes, and how it's putting the squeeze on hardworking middle-class Americans like us. We need to highlight how the system is rigged to benefit the wealthy and make our lives harder. We need to show that taxes are not just taking a bite out of our income, they're taking a piece of our freedom too.
And you know what? Maybe we shouldn't stop at just talking. Maybe it's time for us to propose real solutions. We should consider a flat tax system. That would make things simpler and fairer and stop the double taxing crap.
I like where you're going with this, Christopher. A flat tax system would make things so much simpler and fairer. I mean, think about it. No more confusing brackets and rates. No more loopholes and tricks for the rich. Everyone pays the same, and that's it. No more double taxation either. It just makes common sense. And you know what? Maybe we should even go a step further. Instead of just talking and proposing solutions, maybe we should take action. Maybe we should put our money where our mouth is and support candidates who back real tax reform.
This issue can spread across the political aisle. Can you imagine a topic that Ted Cruz and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez agree on? Well, this is one of them.
My money's on Ron Paul. He's been a long-time advocate for a flat tax system, and he's not afraid to call out the government on their tax shenanigans. He's also for reducing our federal deficits and limiting the size and power of the federal government, which goes hand in hand with reducing taxes.
I wholeheartedly agree Ron Paul would be a terrific choice. He's always been a strong advocate for fiscal responsibility and limited government. And the fact that he's for a flat tax system is even more reason to consider him. But you're right, we shouldn't limit ourselves either. We should keep an open mind and look at all the candidates who are seriously committed to tax reform. We should find the ones who have the most practical, viable plans to change the system for the better. We need to keep fighting. As for what else we can do, it's time we expose their damn schemes. We need to point out how their tax system puts the heaviest burden on working-class Americans. We need to put a spotlight on the complexity and unfairness of tax laws. We need to show the world how the government is essentially taking a cut from every time a product changes hands.
Just look at the income tax rates for high earners. It's nearly 40%. That's huge, and is taking a toll on people's ability to save and invest.
Oh, absolutely. The high-income earners are getting hit the hardest, and it's stifling economic growth and investment. The government is literally taking a huge chunk of people's hard-earned money and spending it on things like wasteful bureaucracy, military spending, and corporate subsidies. Talk about adding insult to injury. And the worst part is we can't even trust the system. The money we pour into taxes, it seems like it just sinks into a bureaucratic abyss with no transparency and no accountability. Where is it going? How is it being used? Is it doing any good at all? It's enough to make you want to pull your hair out.
The lack of transparency is the real kicker, isn't it? We're throwing our hard-earned dollars into a black hole, and we have no idea where it's really going. Is it going towards infrastructure, education, social programs, or is it lining the pockets of the already wealthy and corrupt? And let's not forget the fact that we're paying taxes on taxes.
Frustration doesn't even cover it. Sometimes I feel like we're just hamsters in a never-ending treadmill. It's almost like they're playing a sick game with us. Tax the hell out of us and then act like it's all for our own good. But where's the damn payoff?
Exactly. And it's not just the economic impact of overtaxation that's a problem. It's also the principle of the matter. When the government takes money from people's hard-earned paychecks and then turns around and spends it on things the people don't want, It's a direct attack on individual freedoms. People are being forced to fund things they don't believe in or support. It's taxation without representation, and it's got to stop.
You nailed it. This whole thing is about the government overstepping its bounds and taking liberties it has no right to take. The American people have the right to decide what they do with their own money. This whole system of overtaxation is a slap in the face to freedom and personal responsibility. We shouldn't be funding wars and military bases all over the world. And all of these corporate welfare and farm subsidies are just a waste of tax dollars. We need to trim the fat on the government's budget and get rid of these ineffective programs that are bleeding the American people dry. Reducing the size of the government and allowing people to keep more of their own money is a no-brainer. The debt crisis is a serious issue, and it's being compounded by the excessive taxes that people are paying. Working hard isn't the problem. The government's overreaching tax policies are. The money individuals are forced to give up could be used in ways that would truly make a difference, like investing in housing, education, healthcare, and small businesses. The American dream isn't about governmental dependency. It's about self-reliance, hard work, and freedom from excessive government control.
Absolutely, you get it. And let's not forget about the social impact of overtaxation. The American people are drowning in debt. Student loan debt alone is over $1.5 billion. That doesn't even count credit card debt, medical debt, or home mortgages. All of it is piling up and making it hard for people to get ahead. We need to free up that money so people can invest in their own lives and in their communities. The only way to pay off this massive debt is by raising taxes, right? No, wrong. We need to stop spending so much money in the first place. There is a prevalent idea circulating out there that reducing corporate tax rates drives more business within an economy, and that the increase in generated business creates a surplus of taxes, whereas increasing corporate taxes beyond a certain threshold quits increasing tax generation and instead just makes businesses leave.
Exactly. The whole idea that raising corporate taxes will bring in more tax revenue is a fallacy. History has proven time and again that high taxes drive businesses and investments out, reducing the overall tax revenue. It's simple math. In fact, lowering corporate and income taxes would actually stimulate the economy and generate a bigger tax base. The debt crisis is real, and it's being fueled by all these taxes. People are struggling to get ahead, not because they're not working hard, but because the government is taking too much from them. That money could be used for so many things that would actually improve people's lives. Things like home ownership, education, healthcare, and investments in small businesses. The American dream isn't about being dependent on the government. It's about hard work, self-reliance, and freedom from government interference. No more career politicians, no more corporate bribes, no more government overreach. And let's not forget about dismantling the surveillance state. The government has no right to be monitoring every aspect of our lives. It's time to take back our privacy and our freedoms.
Damn right, Walken. The surveillance state is ridiculous, and we need to put an end to it. It's like every single move we make is being watched and recorded by some government agency. It's like we're living in some dystopian nightmare. But you know what? We're not going to take it lying down. We're going to make some damn noise, and we're going to demand our freedoms back. We need to remind these politicians that this is a democracy, and we won't stand for this intrusion into our lives. We're here to live our lives, exercise our rights, and keep as much of our hard-earned money as possible. And you're damn right, we threw off the yoke of the British Empire and fought for our freedom, all for a tax rate of 5-8% of our income. We can do better than that today.
The Constitution is the law of the land, and the government needs to respect it. No more intruding on our rights, no more snooping on us, and no more messing with our lives. Damn straight. It's the people who should be in charge, not some out-of-touch bureaucrats in Washington. And we can't forget about the Second Amendment. I'm a strong supporter of gun rights. The right to bear arms is fundamental to protecting every other freedom we have, you know?
This has been a great discussion, but let's really get down to the wire here. What are we going to do about it, Walken?
I have a plan. To end taxes, we need to convince everyone not to pay them.